Gillis is coming.
Joe Gillis is here.
Okay, I thought he was going to actually
No.
on yesterday.
No, he's called in. Let's get started. Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. Nice to see everybody. It's been March or April last year. Our last in person.
We've been March, I think.
Yeah. So, if I can remember how to do this moving forward, here, let's go. We'll start with the minutes from the April 13th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those? If so, would someone make a motion to accept those, please? Joe Samio. Dave DeMore for a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. Budget report is attached. Fairly straightforward report. We received a revenue from our lease with R&R Farms out at Tryon, which the board previously had approved. We received half of that payment up front, and the other half we'll receive later this year, but that was for $825. Some interest earnings also being reported. On the expenditure side, again, salaries, unemployment insurance, federal payroll taxes paid this quarter. We had a payment to Weston Company for their work on preparing the audit. And then we had some expenses at Tryon, which included some electricity and the $134 expense, which was to purchase hardware and materials to go try and secure those interior doors at building 3, try to keep people out of roaming through the building if they are able to get in. And then we had the IDA website, our hosting fee of $144.40, which is an annual fee that we pay. So that is all for this past month. Are there any questions on the budget report? Joe and Todd, any questions from your end?
Not from here, Jim.
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
Very good. Would someone then make a motion to accept the budget report? Jane Kelly, is there a second? Mike? Any further questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Very good. The motion is passed. Monthly bank reconciliations, Mr. Semio? They were perfect. Very good.
Good job.
Moving on to other reports, Fulton County report, Warren Green had a conflict for today and so was not able to attend today's meeting. From the CRG, their monthly report is attached to your agenda, and Travis Mitchell is here today to share that with you. Travis, what do you have to offer from the CRG today?
Good morning, everybody. Good to be here. As Jim said, you've got the report from CRG this month. I'm just going to run through a few of the highlights. I think also attached, or maybe it came a little bit afterwards, is the article in the Business Facilities magazine for marketing for outbound Tryon. We're continuing with another round of the micro enterprise grant work. Those training sessions are scheduled to start up again in June. Also, later this week, we're kicking off the MVED site assessment study. I think you're familiar with that at this point. It should be pretty good. Alon is doing that work. We've also got the JDA agricultural lending program going on. That's scheduled to start, I think, this month also. And I know Ron is working on a developers summit for brownfield assessment, and the planning for that is ongoing, scheduled to be sometime in the fall. Continuing to work with our local communities, the cities, the villages on their different needs and efforts. And let's see, Yep, just our 2021 initiatives, just looking for new ways to effectively market Fulton County, looking for new loan pools and grant opportunities and other ways to help our local communities. Any questions with the contents of the report?
Very good. Thank you, Travis.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Moving on under old business, a couple of updates with Nexus Renewable Project. Revised lease and revenue sharing agreements are being finalized. An easement agreement is also being finalized. Construction documents on behalf of Nexus are being finalized. The community solar subscription agreement has been finalized and then has been distributed to potential subscribers for their solar credits. Kara has been working with Nexus's attorney on the closing documents for providing the sales tax exemptions. The Town of Johnstown Town Board this month is hopefully going to finalize their pilot agreement with Nexus. Nexus is looking to start construction of their access road this year. And as we discussed at our last meeting, they will be using our access road that goes down into to the wastewater treatment plant to actually access their new access road is going to cross it. And they've agreed to pave that section of road from County Road 117 down to where it's going to intersect so that they have a nice new road to be able to use to get into their the access road that will go behind Vireo into the solar project. So a bunch of stuff ongoing. I received yesterday, Kara had completed her review of the revised lease agreement, the easement agreement, and others. I've sent your comments on to Keith Sandor this morning, Kara, and I think we're, based upon that, I think we're ready to execute the amended lease and the easement agreement. Would you agree? Oh, Kara's still muted.
Am I muted now?
No, now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if I could do it myself. Yeah, I agree that's where we're at. I had sent a list of deliverables to Nexus's attorney for our lease transaction with them, our IDA lease transaction, and they're just working out some of the remaining details, but I think we're in a good position to move forward with executing the amended lease agreement. I had just that one question about the easements, and then they say they're looking at the first couple of weeks of June. So hopefully I'll have that report for you next month.
Would you think it's best that we execute all the documents together, the lease, the easement, as well as the IDA documents for the sales tax exemptions?
I mean, that's probably more streamlined. We're not going to be able to put anything on record until all of that goes on record anyhow. So if it's signed now, it's just going to have to be held in a holding pattern before, and everything will have to be recorded at one time. We're still waiting on memo of leases for the large lease agreement. They're going to do a memo of lease for each one of the LLCs and put that on. That'll go on record first, and then the easements, and then the IDA transaction.
I told Keith this morning to get those memos to you to review, because you had indicated you hadn't seen them yet.
Yeah, and their attorney has, I've mentioned it to him. It's on our list of deliverables that I sent to him also. So they're also waiting on insurance certificates, waiting on that to come over as well. They've sent me all their entity documents and those types of items. I've sent them one set of draft documents. We're going to do the same set of documents for all 4 LLCs. So I sent him one set and figured we just incorporate the changes and then duplicate them for the rest.
Yes, well, when the time comes to execute these documents, hopefully Joe had his Wheaties in the morning because he's going to be signing quite a few documents.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a few documents this time, I think.
So it's each one times 4, because there's 4 separate solar projects out there, so. It's very good. Is that? All right, moving on. Again, Travis has already mentioned this, the Fulton County Site Inventory and Assessment Project. Elon has been retained to perform that work. There is a kickoff session this week on that, so we'll keep you posted as that develops. Next item is the option agreement that we have with Vireo Health. Last fall, the IDA board approved executing an option agreement with Vireo Health. The option agreement included lots 1 and 2 in the Tryon Technology Park that comprise about 44 acres and another 52 acres behind that property that is outside of the Tryon Technology Park. Vireo has verbally advised of their intent to exercise their right under the option agreement to purchase these 96 acres. They have retained Ferguson and Foss surveyors to prepare a boundary line survey of this tract of land. That boundary survey will verify the exact acreage. The exact acreage will determine the exact purchase price for the property. Kara and Vireo is in the process of sending us a formal letter, formalizes their intent to purchase this property. But in order to sell it, Kara has advised that an appraisal is needed to establish the fair market value of the 44 acres within the Tryon Park. I reached out to CBRE, who prepared commercial appraisals on some of the buildings we were looking to sell last year, and have received a quote of $2,500 to have an appraisal done on these 44 acres. So I'm asking for an authorization for making a payment in that amount to CBRE to prepare an appraisal on the 44 acres within the Tryon Technology Park. David Moore, is there a second to that motion?
Hey, Jim, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You go too far? Why would we only get a fair market value on 44 acres when the option's for 96?
Yep. Well, because primarily, Todd, we had an appraisal done on lands adjacent to those 56 acres, okay, in the Tryon development area. Mm-hmm. And so the value of that land, you know, of these 52 acres is comparable to the appraised value that we had done on lands that are immediately adjacent to it. So Kara's comfortable with that, but the ones in the park itself, we've never had a formal appraisal done on them. Cushman Wakefield did a market assessment and looked at comparable, parks around and recommended that we market the land at $27,500 per acre, but we've not actually had a formal appraisal done, which is required by the state in order for us to be able to sell property. So Todd, the answer to your question is there was an appraisal done that was on lands that physically adjoin these 52 acres. And that's what that gives us the basis of determining what the value of those that property is. Okay?
And we have a dollar amount has been established per acre?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the easement or the option agreement that you approved offered that land at $1,000 an acre.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll vote on the motion to approve a payment of $2,500 to CBRE. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, next, just another status report on the proposed sale of the former maintenance building Back in April, the ID board approved selling the former maintenance building in Tryon to Lot Holdings in Amsterdam. Since that meeting, a letter has been sent by Kara to the state advising of the proposed sale. A waiver of conflict letter has been executed. The survey of the property that the IDA had previously prepared was sent to Lot Holdings. I sent them a copy of the environmental assessment report that the IDA had prepared when it acquired Tryon from the state. Lot Holdings had contractors in the building last Thursday and Friday to assess conditions and providing Lot Holdings with cost estimates to make needed repairs and improvements to the building. I spoke with Randy Lott yesterday, and as far as he's concerned, nothing has come up so far that would, in his due diligence, that is going to change his mind of purchasing the property. So we are moving forward with that, and once he completes all of his due diligence, he'll let us know one way or the other, but it appears we're headed towards the sale there. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. Next, move on to new business. At your April meeting, you authorized an agreement with Evergreen Landscaping to provide mowing services at Tryon for this year. Suggesting 2 amendments be made to hit this agreement. The first is to provide some additional mowing services. If you recall, we had asked for an alternate bid with these contractors to provide mowing services. The alternate bid was to mow around the former maintenance building in anticipation of us selling that building. You know, if we didn't need to have anything done, you know, we wouldn't award the bid. And the decision was made at that time to not award any of that. Now that we're seeing that this process of closing on that building may take a little longer than we originally thought, what I'm recommending is that we add a couple of mowings in. It's $100 per mow to have Evergreen go out there just to try to keep that property looking decent until we sell it. So I'm suggesting 2 mowings. His quote was to do $100 per mow. We'll out there have them do 2 mowings, and hopefully by then, you know, we'll have the property sold, and then they can take over that responsibility to get it done. The second proposed amendment would be landscaping around the entry sign coming into Tryon. That work needs to be done, weeding and then putting in new mulch around our front entrance sign. And then there's the old brick wall entrance sign that was there before that has weeds growing all out of it, and it's just a visual distraction. And so we asked Evergreen for a quote to work on both of those signs, and the quote came in around $600 to do all of the weeding and then bringing in mulch and spreading it all around. So I'm recommending that we add those 2 work tasks to Evergreen's contract for a total of $800 for 2021. Jane Kelly will make that motion. Okay, Mike Fitzgerald with a second. Any questions or comments or discussion? Todd and Joe, anything? You okay with that?
It's all good.
Does that have to go out to bid if it's over a certain amount of money?
If it's over a certain amount, yes, but if it's well under that amount.
Okay.
Very good. We have a motion to amend Evergreen's agreement by $800. Take a vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Okay, last item on the business on the open agenda for today is a recapping of some feedback that the Fulton County received recently when we had two separate occasions. We had corporate site selectors come into Fulton County, meet with local officials, and then provide input and feedback as to what they would recommend relative to our economic development program. And the first one was Mike Mullis. Mike Mullis came here in 2013, and then in 2017, we had Dennis Donovan, Jay Gardner, and Jim Renzis come here. And again, I'm not going to go through it all. It's all here for you to review, but I do think it's important that we go back through and remember the feedback that was given to us by these corporate site selectors who I call them, they're the best of the best. These are the guys who belong to a special site selectors guild, which is a professional organization that has a limited number of members. And these are the best of the best in corporate site selection in the world. They came here and provided us with input and guidance and advice. And so I think it's important that we just remember some of the things that they offered. And starting really briefly with Mike Mullis, you know, his point was, folks, you know, you can't be out saying negative things publicly, you know, because in today's, and this was 9 years ago, it's even better now. Everybody knows what everybody says. You know, so if you're trying to build a positive image about your community, you know, even if there's something in the local Leader Herald, we're going to know about it. If you say something negative, we're going to know about it. You know, and so I think he was that was an important point that he made way back when. I think you turn to page 6 of your agenda, his assessment of the Tryon Technology Park. He came in as we were contemplating whether to do this thing. And his comment was, it's one of the best pieces of property he has ever seen. You know, and he recommended it try and be marketed exclusively as a business park. You know, he said FMCC and Boise should have a presence, you know, and that's something we can still take a look at. His comment was big box distribution types facilities shouldn't go there. Okay. Again, that was his opinion. And he recommended the project be handled with a business and not a political sense. So again, that was a piece of input that he had provided. Moving on then, a couple of years ago, these 3 gentlemen came here and they looked at the county's strengths and said, these are the things you should be out marketing. You know, the success of the county's industrial parks shows prospective companies that we have the ability to get it done. And they were incredibly impressed with what we had accomplished and said that experience, we should be out there saying that. Okay, we can do it. We can do it. You know, as opposed to we think we can, or you know, other communities who haven't had the same amount of success, you know, can't brag as much as we can. Our workforce development initiatives, they were incredibly impressed with and said we should be out promoting and marketing. Our infrastructure capacity, our fast track local permitting process is something that they were incredibly impressed with. Government being pro-business, low occupancy, high labor and low labor costs, and our high quality of life were all things that they thought we should be aggressively marketing. Things that they found as weaknesses, the limited amount of product that we have in terms of both shovel-ready sites and existing buildings. Lack of racial diversity. School taxes are too high. Electric power rates. New York's image. 14% of Fulton County's workforce is without a high school degree. Things that they had identified as negatives. And then they offered a series of suggestions. Okay, and I looked down to say number 2, strengthen local websites. And that's something that we've done. The CRG has gone and revamped its website. The IDA has revamped its website. Fulton County government has revamped its website. All of that was done in response to the feedback that we received from these site selectors a few years ago. At Tryon, they recommended improving the physical, visual appearance by demolishing buildings, cutting trees and brush to make sites more visible. We've done that, right? So we have followed through on some of these things. They recommended developing a shell buildings for manufacturing, 75,000 square foot expandable to 150 with interior ceiling heights of 30 feet, or develop a shell building for offices, 40,000 square feet. Something that we have not been able to pursue, but something that maybe we should look to do. They talked a lot about these second stage companies. You know, a second stage, and said that we should retain a professional marketing firm to develop and implement a strategy to target second stage companies in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. Second stage companies, they define those as past the startup stage, but not yet mature. They typically have 10 to 100 employees generating $1 to $50 million in annual revenues. They represent only 17% of the companies in the United States, but over 37% of the jobs. And just saying they are a source, a good source of country. Again, that was a key recommendation they made. We've not been able to pursue that. And maybe that's something that we can have a discussion about, talk with CRG and see, is this the type of an initiative that we would like to that was it. Again, I think it's good to just refresh ourselves on what these folks had to say, because I think their recommendations have value. So, any questions or comments on that board training for this month? Very good. Anything, Todd or Joe?
Didn't they also recommend to go after food services to go along with FIA and the cheese factory?
And I skipped over that, Joe. That was one of their first recommendations. You know, they suggested selecting 2 targeted industries, and then they said other potential clusters that we could do is packaging of food and beverages. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. With that, I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, or the proposed acquisition of securities, or sale or exchange of securities held by such public body, but only when publicity would substantially affect the value thereof. Dave Demore makes that motion. Jane Kelly is the second. All in favor say aye.
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 Very good. Go to the executive, please. Joe, second. Jane. All in favor of going out of executive, say aye.
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 Okay, I'd like to have a motion to change the June meeting date from June 8th to June 15th. Jane? Is there a second to that motion? Dave? Any comments or questions? All in favor of changing the meeting date from June 8th to June 15th, say aye.
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 Motion is carried. Someone would like to make a motion? Is there any other business to conduct? No. Would someone make a motion to close the meeting? Dave, is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?